DreamHack Austin. Zalae looking to make some big waves. Zalae, one of the few players not to bring Priest this weekend in Americas and Europe, and he's going to start off with a Protect Warlock. PNC responds with a Protect Shaman. PNC not protecting the Priest. Any thoughts here?
I'm actually not sure because this is a very similar lineup. I think it's because Zalae doesn't have Priest. So his matchup spread is slightly worse, but not that much worse because Zalae really only has the 1 and maybe 1.5 good matchups against Priest. He has Warlock and he has Warrior. I think it comes down to what he expects Zalae to protect. Because if he expects Zalae to protect Druid, sure, you can protect Priest and you're still going to be in a decent spot. But if he expects him to protect either Zoo Warlock or Warrior, which is pretty likely considering that Zoo Warlock actually has a pretty good number of matchups, then he protects something else. I'm honestly surprised that if he was planning on banning Shaman, that he wouldn't protect Warrior, but it depends on his list. If he's playing, is he playing the Hecklebot list? No, he's not. Okay, never mind. I guess that's correct then.
Well, Zoo Warlock hasn't been protected at all so far until Patra's match earlier today against Staz. I did not see the result of that because I was walking to the studio and getting ready for it. And the website hasn't updated.
Yeah.
It just shows what happened in game 1, which was Staz 1. So he's up 1-0. Some say Staz is still playing Patra to this day.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's updated now. Maybe I'll check in between. But yeah, it is pretty rare. But it's also pretty rare, at least this week, for a player to not bring Priest in their lineup.
It is. And also for the player not to protect the Priest. So PNC with the pick Shaman, ban Shaman. I personally like Shaman against all of Zalae's decks, so I totally understand that. With the only deck that I'm really afraid of is Priest right now with Shaman. Zalae doesn't have that. The Mirror would be the worst matchup, right? In that case.
Yeah, or some may argue Zoo Warlock, which may be why Zalae protected it.
I just don't think that's the case. And that's why PNC bans Shaman, because in his mind, banning Shaman is the worst matchup for his Shaman deck. So I anticipate anticipate PNC with the Shaman Q first thing. And then, Zalae, if he thinks Druid and Warrior and Warlock, whichever of those are good against Shaman, I'd recommend that. If he feels like Zoo Warlock is good against Shaman, go for it.
Yeah, Zoo Warlock has one good matchup out of the 2.
Okay, picks Druid. I mean,
right.
Druid statistically works well. Also, I don't know if PNC picks Shaman. I'm just going off of a whim and predicting this.
It would make sense based off Zalae's lineup, and he did. And because of that, because it makes sense for PNC to protect Shaman, first pick Shaman, Zalae picks his best matchup into Shaman.
Right, which should be Druid.
It is.
But if you heard yesterday PNC talk about it, he says he thinks he's good against the Druid. And I played a bunch of Quest Shaman games today right before while we were waiting for Europe to swap over. I was beating every Druid as soon as I started playing like PNC.
Yeah.
I might have to go back and apologize about PNC. I think the way your macro lines were great. I think you understand this matchup really well.
Yeah. So in week 2, Zalae and I tested the Druid versus Shaman matchup a lot. Like a lot.
Oh yeah. I was watching and
you were spectating
helping you a little bit.
And
which you didn't need. You didn't really need it.
I was beating him after all. I was beating him a lot. And it wasn't the normal
par for the course.
It was par for the course because I usually just nut draw Zalae into oblivion. But I had pretty normal draws there, and we came to the conclusion that Druid was favored. And we also consulted.
Yeah, but look who was the pilot on the other side. Who was the one playing Shaman?
Stats are skewed a little bit because of that. But I also consulted the Quest Druid connoisseur, Abar, producer for the Europe show.
Great, handsome guy.
Ex-pro player, guy that plays a lot of Hearthstone, consistently top 100 legend, even top 10 legend.
Inventor of cool decks. You might know Abar from the Weasel Tunneler Priest that Savitz popularized years ago.
Yeah, and he even said that he likes Quest Druid against Shaman. He's played the deck Quest Druid like more than anybody I know. Yeah. But Zalae, after talking with him this week, was saying that he thinks that he wasn't playing it correctly. He was playing it like he would play, same argument as earlier, he was playing it like he'd play against Warrior, where you're playing for a ton of value, and you try and get Earthquakes from Ethereal Lackey and grind him out of the game. But
I was watching that happen. He kept dying with like 9 cards in the hand.
Yeah, but I think you just play it like it's a tempo deck. You play it super aggressively, you get on the board quick, you protect your minions as much as you can from removal, and you just keep hitting them. Now Gidon, in his matchup earlier, played a Sandstorm Elemental on turn 2. With nothing on board, just played a 2/2. And I think that's kind of how you have to approach it, where you just have to put minions on the board.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
I might have even cornered out a 3/2 last turn. I don't know.
You mean coin out Bog Slasher?
Or Weaponized Wasp, since there's no Lackey synergy.
He just drew Weaponized Wasp.
Oh, yeah, you're right, you're right.
So, but yeah.
Okay, maybe not.
I get your
if
point.
you just have 1 3-drop, maybe not.
Yeah.
If you have 3 into 3, yes. But like the point still stands. Maybe not that specific iteration, but I think you just have to take every opportunity you can to get minions on board and not focus too much on getting maximum value out of minions.
Agreed.
And just hit them.
I think I like Weaponized Wasp a little bit better than Bog Slosher, only because I keep 2 minions on board and make Mogu Flesh Shaper a possibility. Oh wait, totems cost 1 mana. This is really good. I associated totems with the 2 mana hero power, but that was fixed years ago when they made proper mana adjustments for it. Really good interaction spot here by PNC.
That was like 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
Wow.
A long time, but as we know, tokens tend to be a little bit downgraded based off of what their usual stat line is. So 1/1s are usually 0 mana or 1 mana, and so on and so forth. So totem being a 1 mana, good knowledge there by PNC. And now Zalae has to figure out if he wants to Ferocious Howl or if he wants to Wrath this. Wrath does protect his 1/4 temporarily. But it's a little bit mana inefficient, which is funny because both these are mana inefficient plays.
Well, considering you just need to act like you're operating with 1 less mana most of the time.
Yeah.
Ferocious Howl is the most mana efficient.
Yeah, I like holding on to Wrath because you also have Nourish, so you do get to Wrath with the Nourish. But the thing is, you're finishing the quest next turn. What are you going to do on 5? It's probably going to be War Druid, Lodi, and Wrath.
True.
I know Zalae loves Crystal Merchant. He was declaring it the best card in Quest Druid. Usually what they mean by that, because obviously Crystal Merchant isn't the best card in Quest Druid. It's the quest reward or even the quest itself. But Crystal Merchant is like one of the key cards to make that deck come together.
Yeah.
It's very funny because sometimes you have to translate for the Hearthstone players, and they're like, "Oh, this card's just the best card of the deck," and it's just like, really, it's just not. It's not even close to being the best card of the deck.
The quest is.
The quest in Quest Druid tends to be the best card in the deck, or you know, other cards that you can benefit off the quest.
Oasis Surger.
Oasis Surger's nuts, or you know, anything else that's like your finisher, like Cenarius is really good. Floop.
Floop is very good.
Floop is one of the best cards in the deck for sure.
Because it copies the other best cards in your deck.
There is one way. I can look up the data.
All right.
Sometimes that's a way to try to use seemingly objective set of data to make claims like that.
So like trading with War Druid Lodi, kind of one of the big decisions to be made, especially in this matchup. Holding on to the War Druid Lodi in order to get additional benefit from your Choose One spells, because the Choose One spells double up. So oftentimes War Druid Lodi, even though it's +1 spell damage, it's effectively +2. Swipe has 2 spell power components. Wrath has 2 spell power components. Starfall, 2 spell power components.
Yep, I like the Flash Shaper in this spot. Win back and board.
Yep.
Speaking of Lodi, that card might be one of the best cards.
I really like Lodi.
So, according to average statistics, this is all the way down to the entire range, Legend to rank 20. If you look at Mulligan win percentages, yes, Crystal Merchant is one of the best because that's what you do. You mulligan for it. But as we know, the cards that you mulligan for aren't exactly the best cards in the deck. If you look at draw win percentage, it's pretty high up, though. It's top 5, along with Oasis Surger, Wardrobe Ludi, Scenarios, and Anubis Defender, which is interesting. Anubis Defender, not a card that I would actually kind of attribute to being a hero of the deck, but it makes sense, right? Because it gives a lot of life to all these big plays and swings that it wants to do.
It's similar in Arcane Tyrant, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, free 0-mana 3/5 taunts, like Think From Below, and Corridor Creeper. It's like, how did we forget that like 0-mana stuff is just good? Anubis Defender, best card of the game. Look at it!
It's good. It's real good.
People were still playing Corridor Creeper when it was a 2/5, TJ.
Yeah.
It was mainly Odd Paladin, but we were playing it regardless.
I remember back in the day, the Trinity Series Finals, which was played on the new expansion, and Team Love You Lots, which was Zalae, Chalky, and Muzzy, ended up winning because they
loved you lots.
They love you lots. They loved Corridor Creeper lots. They were, because it was so new, players didn't realize how powerful the 5/5 Corridor Creeper was.
I wonder if that was Chalky's application to Blizzard. Like, so how much do you really know about card games? Chalky's like just plays in the VOD of Trinity Series where they jam 6 or 7 or 6 or 8 Corridor Creepers in all their decks.
And Possessed Lackey, which players kind of undervalued with Void Lord, which ended up becoming like a staple of every Warlock deck. And they saw that like day 3.
Yeah, and everyone like copied their decks by the end of the tournament.
Yeah.
You were allowed to change decks.
Maybe if they hadn't done that in Trinity Series, the meta would have looked completely different. Who knows?
Zalae gets the Bizarre Mugger.
Also gets the water.
The Sandhoof Water Bearer.
Yeah, which.
Where's your mind control tech now?
Not good right now.
In fact, PNC's on turn 7. He's 3 out of 6 on the quest. So this is a downside of playing cards that can be pretty expensive and just like not drawing the right half of your deck. Is that PNC doesn't have the quest finish. Shamans want to be finishing the quest, usually the latest by turn 7. And while PNC can finish it, it's a little bit too late because Zalae has ramped up and played the king. And summoned the cat.
The Feoris cat.
I like it, TJ. Cat of Feoris. All great stuff, but turn 7 is considered to be late. Turn 5, 6 is when you usually finish the quest.
Well, I mean, PNC could pick off a lot here. He can play Kobold Lackey, Mogu Flesh Shaper, and Weaponized Wasp. So 5/5 goes over Anubasath, Kobold Lackey and Mogu Flesh Shaper go into Anubasath, and then the Weaponized Wasp goes into the 3/2. He could even Kobold Lackey into the 5/5 and Weaponized Wasp and the 5/5 and leave one of the Anubasaths up.
Mortals are so squeaky.
Really hope he got all these attacks off. He did.
Okay.
This is 5, 10, 14, 18 damage. If he found Power of the Wild, is that lethal? No, he'd be 1 off. He gained 4 from Power of the Wild. 5, 10, 14,
Scenarios
plus
would
4
be exactly
18.
the same. Because the swipe and the plus and the 4.
Yeah, right. But then you set up for a swipe lethal.
Yeah, true. But you don't clear the board. I think just Starfall Oasis Surger.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Starfall Oasis Surger. Although one thing I'd be considering is actually trading my 1/2 and then playing Starfall.
I wonder.
Because I don't want Mind Control Tech, and I probably wouldn't play Oasis Surger either. But then again, your opponent didn't play Mind Control Tech. If he had Mind Control Tech, he most likely would have played it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless he got super greedy with the quest. Or, yeah, with the hero power. But that's bold.
I guess I just don't want some silly Hail Mary opportunity where my opponent like plays hero power Mind Control Tech, steals both my Oasis Surgers, and then I just lose everything.
So if he did have that, if he hero power Mind Control Tech steals both Oasis Surgers, trades into the 5/5, I guess he wouldn't have lethal. Yeah, you're right.
It's just a small thing, not really a big deal, because like we said, PNC would have had the mind control tech the previous turn. That was a big turn to do it.
Yeah.
Job well done by Zalae. Druid gets over the hump of Shaman, and PNC, despite putting his faith in the elements, his faith was not rewarded.
No, not quite. Drawing a lot of his top end, Shadow Walk, Barista, all in the opening hand, and I mean, I feel like Druid is one of the more consistent decks. It just has a consistent weakness with its early game. And so if you get those big starts and the Shaman has dead hands, which they're prone to, you're going to win.
It's going to be our first game in the series. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to find out if Zalae can also reverse the momentum in Division. He needs the W. Will he get it? We'll find out soon.
Well met, friend. Ooh.
Let's get this over with.
I win!
Oh, what an amazing game! Well played!
Here's to the winner.
Shadows are rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tomb, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There's surely scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save. Oh no!
Zalae currently up 1-0 over PNC as we go to Zoo Warlock versus Quest Shaman. I'm a fan of the Quest Shaman in this matchup. I feel really confident. I think Sandstorm Elemental, I think Mind Control Tech, I think all the lackeys are really important. And the difference is that Zoo Warlock scales worse into the late game dramatically compared to Quest Shaman. Quest Shaman feels like it fights for the board much more efficiently. And then when it gets to late in the game, they have like Shutterwalk. They have the Giggling Venom to keep them alive, and then they have big evolves and whatnot on top of combo damage that can end the game. So Warlock just kind of does the same thing over and over and just keeps trying until it gets through.
I would give it 51-49 in favor of Shaman.
I'd give it a little bit more. I'd probably say it's like a 45-55 edge. Pretty sizable, but not like anything that just automatically is damning on the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it also depends on the deck list, and PNC does have a little bit greedier stuff, things like Youthful Brewmaster, which don't exactly impact the matchup that much. Youthful Brewmaster is more for the slower matchups that you need to get those extra battle cries, and even having a 3-2 to contest like Northshire Cleric.
Yeah. So I think it all if the Zoo has a big board lead before the Shaman completes the quest, then I think it's actually pretty easy to win from that position as long as you don't play crazy into the Sandstorm Elemental. Because even Mind Control Tech is tough because you can consolidate your board often with the deck. Evil Recruiter, I think, is just the nuts against Shaman. They can barely ever
your best.
They can barely ever find a way to deal with it, and this is a decent curve for Zalae. I would prefer a Mekaru on turn 1. That would be the ideal curve for Zalae. But he can coin out Serpent Egg, Evil Genius at next turn.
Well, you mentioned overwhelming stats early on. Serpent Egg is good for exactly that.
Yeah.
I would be very happy if I'm Zalae. And I think you're absolutely right. Early game stats overwhelm Shaman. They overwhelm a lot of classes. Let's be real here. Having a 2-mana 3/4 is just usually very good.
Yeah.
Ask our buddy Totem Golem in Wild.
Especially since it's just pure upside when you get to Evil Genius. Like, it's insane. Mind Control Tech in the hand early for PNC, but other than that, his hand is pretty garbage.
Yeah, I think PNC's kind of had a couple of awkward draws here.
Yeah.
It does tend to happen.
Yeah, and especially you mentioned it. He's playing a greedier version of the deck. Giggling Inventor takes a long time before it can come down. Useful Brewmaster, you usually don't want to be pulling minions off the board against Zoo, because that just gives them a bigger board lead unless you're pulling back a Sandstorm Elemental, or you're pulling back a Mind Control Tech, or you're pulling back a Cobalt Lackey, for instance. Right. But right now, PNC really doesn't want a Totem Pass, but he also doesn't want to spend this Mind Control Tech because it's probably going to be active as early as next turn.
I think it's a bait. I think Mind Control Tech is going to steal a 1/1 on average. Yeah. I think you want to get 3/3 on the board.
But let's say Zalae plays 2 minions. Okay. So you have 4. Mogu Fleshshaper goes down to 2 mana. You play Mind Control Tech, goes down to 1 mana. So next turn, you can Mind Control Tech, steal a minion, Mogu Fleshshaper, trade into a minion, and then mutate the Mogu Fleshshaper.
So you have upside of stealing the 3/4 is what you're saying.
Yes. So
because the 3/3 does contest, but you're right in the sense that he does have the swing turn, and the swing turn is more important than just fighting for tempo and playing your cards on curve because you can.
Yeah. I honestly think that this combination of Mind Control Tech, Mogu Fleshshaper with Mutate, Mogu Fleshshaper Mutate is what kills Zoo the most. More so than having like a good early curve.
Sure.
Right? Because if you play like a Sludge Surfer, like what's that really going to do in the board? You're going to keep spending your resources to fight for board, and then they have better tools to fight for board pre-quest completion, right?
Yeah, you're right. I think the Mogu Fleshshaper is a really important card to fight back.
Yeah.
And now Zalae has the option of playing around it. You can just play Flame Imp.
Many possibilities.
Yeah. Flame Imp does have value with Disease Vulture, but
he does have the option of going very wide, playing Faceless Lackey, Titanic Lackey, and the Flame Imp, using Titanic Lackey on a weak minion so that you can't really get good trades. Like this would be good on just small stuff.
So, yeah, this is a good play against Mind Control Tech. And Mogu Flesh Shaper was already cheap enough to where if you played a minion Mogu Flesh Shaper, it doesn't matter if he trades into the totem. And Mogu Flesh Shaper doesn't have a good target to trade into. But this still could be a massive turn for PNC. He's going to develop a 3/3, steal something from his opponent, and develop an 8-drop while also trading over another thing from his opponent.
PNC going to trade first, right? Doesn't want to steal the 1/3 taunt. He wants to steal Loot Hoarder. He wants to steal anything except the minions on the end.
Stealing the 1/3 taunt lets him get a better trade with Mogu Flesh Shaper.
Also true. In that case, I think 4 out of 6 hits, which I'd be reasonably happy with. It's a good thing.
Little time.
Yeah.
I think I do want to microtech first.
Mortals are so squishy.
PNC disagrees.
I mean, he's going to use his health as a resource if he lets himself get damage. Steals the 3/4. Big steal.
Whoa!
Big swings. And now with the Evil Recruiter...
That's perfect mana, actually, because he only develops 1 minion. So, but that's perfect to make the Sea Giant cost 1.
Yes. And I think it is important to trade into the Microtech too.
Yep. He can isolate a 6/6. That doesn't feel great, though.
That's fine.
I guess it's fine.
That's perfectly fine. You have a 5/5, a 3/3, and 8/8.
Mortals.
Okay. I think I want to take out everything but the 6/6 and the healing totem.
I don't know. I think you might want to push face with the 2/1 and the 2/2.
Elaborate.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to gather my thoughts.
Okay.
And look at how the trades go, because it puts PNC in an awkward position, right? Because you're trading over the Mind Control Tech. If you leave up the two damage minions, he value trades with his 3/4, but then you have better trades into the 6/6 if he value trades with the 6/6. He gets to take out your Sea Giant, but if he does, he trades off the 3/4 anyway. You net a 5/5, a 3/3, and two attack minions.
So you're saying for future trades?
For future trades. Because this gets him a value trade, and then you don't have a good way to capitalize on the value trade. He's going to 2-for-1 you. Where by going face or keeping those minions alive, you gave yourself the option to 2-for-1. If he value trades over your 3/4 and you trade that next turn, that was the same thing that you just did. You just pushed 4 extra damage.
Oh, wow. I mean, there's not a lot of spells that PNC has. It's definitely flashy, though.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue that's a pretty bad outcome.
Yeah, he wanted something that could take on the Sea Giant.
Well, it'd be funny, because let's say you got like Alexstrasza or Nixia, you could have barista and got it back. Barista doesn't get anything. PNC, by the way, doesn't look like he'll finish the quest before this game is even over at this rate. Another Evil Recruiter Cable Rat combo possible. Or not Cable Rat, sorry, Lackey possible.
Yeah. What Lackey does he want?
Well, Sea Giant costs 10, so evolving it doesn't give you anything because there's nothing at 11 right now. Steel Fury Giant has rotated out with Knights of the Frozen Throne.
So, and you want something that can kill the Malagos, probably. So, which is Kobold Lackey or Goblin Lackey. So hits Kobold. He can also Titanic Lackey and value trade over the Barista Lynchin. And then the Malagos can't trade into it. It can't kill it. And obviously, Quest Shaman outside of Ethereal Lackeys don't have any spells. They don't have a way to capitalize on spell damage.
Do you trade or do you like go face? 11 damage is a lot to miss, especially when you're playing Evil Recruiter right now.
No, that's true. That's true.
It's a lot of damage.
All right. Yeah, you sold me.
I mean, he would if he does trade, it would be to acknowledge the fact that Mogu Flesh Shaper and other things are a threat. PNC, he is drawn terribly with this Quest Shaman today. And I think that Zalae is looking like he is one turn away from getting an equal score to PNC.
Well, close to it. Zalae still has to. He would have to lose tomorrow to equalize PNC. But it looks like there's no way out. If he gets Taunt Totem, he's dead. If he Life Drinkers and gets Taunt Totem, he's alive?
It's no way to live, TJ. There's no way.
No.
It's no life for a Shaman.
It's not.
Yep.
But he could get Taunt Totem? Nope.
He is dead.
The dream was Taunt Totem into Life Drinker. You survive at very low health. The next turn you get Sludge Slurper into Ethereal Lackey into Lightning Storm. And you clear the board with a Lightning Storm.
TJ, what was the featured deck for today?
Zoo Warlock.
And what would you argue has been one of the biggest X factors in a lot of lineups today?
Zoo Warlock. Damn, we
Priest.
knew.
Zalae gets the win. Zoo Warlock gets the W, and now that is a 2-0 victory for Zalae. He improves to 2 and 3. Zalae and Amnesiac, 7th and 8th place respectively in their division, now move up. PNC once again moves to being tied with one of the worst records in the division. I think he's tied Amnesiac now at 7.
Yeah, 2 and 4. And Zalae has an opportunity tomorrow, since this is his first game of the week, his first match of the week. He can go 3 and 3
Exactly.
if he wins his match tomorrow. So despite coming in this week with a pretty rough scoreline, can start to turn his season around with a couple of big wins this weekend. I do like his lineup.
Okay, well, the no Priest lineup working out so far. Let's go ahead and check in with Zalae, who's on the line for a brief interview. Zalae, you there?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing great. Not as good as you. Looks like everything's working out super great. What was the inspiration of not bringing Priest this week?
Oh, it was just too obvious. I mean, to be completely honest, I don't like to talk too much about my lineup strategy prep type stuff. I feel like I give away a lot of advantages just by being a streamer already and not having a ton of off-stream time to prepare. So
Okay, moving on. How big was it to get the win for you mentally? We talked to Amnesiac. He felt like he was in a tough spot, battling down because of the threat of relegation. Where's your headspace at heading into this week?
I mean, so this win wasn't as necessary as the previous one, but it was definitely nice and appreciated. Like, it's always a hit when you lose, and to win instead of lose, it feels really nice. This one, it was like, my opponent, I noticed he kept hero powering on turn 2, and that's really not good. So my advice to him would be really draw better next match. That's not good what he did there.
Yeah, stop drawing Shutterwalk and Barista every opening would be a good start to it. Zalae, we featured your Zoo Warlock. We've seen it do some work today. Is Zoo one of the underexplored decks currently, you think? I mean, it feels like its performance today was really good.
Well, I drew a really nice curve, and my opponent really didn't. So I don't think that necessarily has a lot to do with the archetype. I think more than anything, it has to do with the small sample size. We're just not looking at a lot of games here. This was best of 3. It can go either way.
That's all fair. Tomorrow you're going up against Bloodyface. Any thoughts going up against him?
Bloodyface is a strong competitor. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, TJ, any questions for Zalae?
No, man. Yeah, I like the short and sweetness today. It's keeping it refreshing. I think last week,
like it.
Last week around week 3, we were still in the depths of Warrior Mirrors and 10-minute long interviews, but people are keeping it prompt.
Got it. All right, well, Zalae, we won't hold you any longer. Congrats on your victory, pulling yourself out from the bottom of the standings and making some movement. Good luck on your match tomorrow against Bloodyface.
Thanks.